Have you ever entered a place that didn't just make you uncomfortable, but left a lasting imprint on your psyche? Carl Jung, one of the most influential thinkers in modern psychology, believed that the most dangerous places we can encounter aren't always geographical. Instead, they are psychological landscapes, hidden dimensions within ourselves that, if left unacknowledged, can cause emotional turmoil, spiritual collapse, or even madness. These inner territories are filled with archetypes, shadows, illusions, and forgotten truths. In this video, we'll explore the forbidden psychological spaces that Jung warned should be approached with caution, or avoided entirely if we are not prepared. Each of these places carries the weight of deep philosophical truths, warnings from mythology, and echoes of ancient wisdom. Jung didn't just speak as a psychologist, he spoke as a modern mystic who walked the fine line between science and soul. So, buckle up. As we descend into these dangerous territories of the mind, remember, to understand the terrain is the first step to mastering it. By the end of this journey, you may find not just warnings, but keys to unlocking your truest self. 1. The unconscious abyss. Jung regarded the unconscious as one of the most potent and mysterious forces in human life. It is not a passive repository of thoughts, but a dynamic realm filled with symbols, dreams, repressed emotions, and the raw material of our psyche. Diving into this abyss without understanding its nature is akin to jumping into the ocean without knowing how to swim. Many lose themselves in the depths of their own minds, mistaking chaos for insight and shadows for truth. What makes this space dangerous is its ability to influence our lives without our awareness. The unconscious drives our behavior, shapes our perceptions, and often projects unresolved wounds onto others. Jung warned that those who refuse to confront and integrate their unconscious are doomed to be controlled by it. They will unknowingly repeat destructive patterns and call it fate, never realizing they are the architects of their own suffering. Philosophically, this reflects Plato's allegory of the cave, where prisoners mistake shadows on the wall for reality. Until we escape that cave, until we make the unconscious conscious, we remain trapped. Jung said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. The unconscious isn't evil, but entering it unprepared can fracture the ego and derail the journey toward wholeness." 2. The shadow self. The shadow, as defined by Jung, is the part of ourselves that we deny, reject, or disown. It's composed of everything we consider shameful, weak, or socially unacceptable. The danger of the shadow is not its existence, but our refusal to acknowledge it. When left in the dark, the shadow gains power, growing more volatile and influencing our lives in destructive, unconscious ways. For example, someone who denies their anger may project hostility onto others, seeing enemies everywhere. Another may repress envy and become bitterly judgmental, masking their own insecurities. This phenomenon is known as projection, a psychological defense mechanism that causes us to see in others what we cannot admit in ourselves. Jung taught that what we hate in others is often what we fear within. The wisdom traditions echo this. In Buddhism, it is said that the mind is everything. What you think, you become. In Gnostic texts, confronting your inner demons is essential to liberation. Integration of the shadow leads to self-mastery, while denial leads to fragmentation. Jung insisted that the only way to become whole is to embrace the shadow and transmute it, not suppress it. This is not easy, but the refusal to face it is far more dangerous. 3. The seduction of collective ideologies. Jung observed that when individuals abandon their personal truth in favor of collective ideologies, they risk becoming psychologically possessed. Whether it's political extremism, religious fanaticism, or cultural dogma, the danger lies in substituting the voice of the self with the roar of the crowd. The individual dissolves into the collective, and in doing so, forfeits autonomy, responsibility, and self-awareness. This condition is what Jung termed participation mystique, a state where one's identity is submerged in group consciousness. Such people no longer think critically, they repeat, react, and conform. In this space they become vulnerable to mass hysteria, manipulation, and moral blindness. History is riddled with tragedies born from this surrender of individuality: totalitarian regimes, religious wars, and ideological purges. Philosophers like Nietzsche warned of this as the herd mentality. Kierkegaard called it the crowd is untruth. When we sacrifice our authentic selves to fit into collective molds, we may feel safe, but it's a false security. Jung believed true individuality comes from individuation, the process of becoming who you really are, not what society tells you to be. The collective may feel comforting, but in many ways it's a dangerous place to hide from the truth. 4. The inflated hero. At first glance, the hero archetype appears noble, courageous, driven, and transformational. But Jung warned that identifying too strongly with the hero is one of the most seductive traps of the psyche. When we begin to see ourselves as the center of the universe, destined to save others or fix the world, we risk ego inflation, a psychological state where we confuse personal purpose with divine will. This inflation is subtle but lethal. The inflated hero often becomes blind to his own flaws, deaf to the wisdom of others, and addicted to struggle. He may view life as a constant battle, casting others as villains and himself as the eternal savior. This is not empowerment, it's delusion. In myth, the hero who oversteps, like Icarus, falls. Jung taught that this fall is necessary for real transformation, but many cling to the hero identity and never truly evolve. Philosophically, this is the danger of hubris, the ancient Greek sin of arrogance against the divine order. True power, as Taoist philosophy suggests, lies in Wu Wei, non-action, humility, and flowing with life rather than controlling it. The hero's real journey is inward, not outward. Jung reminds us, the dragon we must slay is often our own pride. 5. The illusion of the comfort zone. While the previous places are dramatic and intense, Jung reserved special warning for a quieter danger: the comfort zone. This is the psychological space where nothing challenges us, nothing disturbs us, and nothing truly changes. On the surface, it may feel peaceful, even successful. But below the surface, it breeds spiritual stagnation and unconscious decay. Jung believed that transformation comes from tension between opposites. The refusal to engage with conflict, chaos, or the unknown results in a life that is shallow and unauthentic. When we avoid discomfort, we avoid the very experiences that forge meaning. As he famously said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. The comfort zone is seductive because it offers predictability, but it denies us the alchemical fire needed for growth. Philosophers like Heraclitus claimed that strife is justice, that life is born through tension, contrast, and motion. Alan Watts echoed this in saying, "You are under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago." Staying in the comfort zone is a kind of death in life. The real danger? Never becoming who you are meant to be because you were too afraid to change. Carl Jung didn't offer easy answers, he offered mirrors. He urged us not just to look outward for danger, but to examine the landscapes within our own minds. The unconscious abyss, the shadow, collective ideologies, the inflated hero and the comfort zone. These are all territories with the power to either destroy us or transform us, depending on how we enter them. The deeper message here is not just one of caution, but of potential. These places are not evil. They are powerful. They are initiatory thresholds, and those who face them with humility, self-awareness and courage may find something more precious than safety, the realization of their true self. So ask yourself, not just once but every day, which dangerous place are you avoiding? And what might happen if you dared to walk through it, consciously?